I literally just finished my This is the Day, This is the Hour, This is This video. Now I'm getting right into this. This, and this, and this. And also this. Cure for Sanity. Yeah, I just mentioned that This is the Day, This is the Hour, This is my favorite PWE album. This is a very close second. And it is a very close second. This album is not perfect. As I just mentioned a few minutes ago in my other video, it's got some fluff, got some filler, I think. Not everything quite works, but it is a fun experience. It's a pretty long album. Not the Unfortunately, this needed a double vinyl press. This is all pressed on one record, so you get over an hour of music. You got over half an hour on each side. That's not conducive to a good press, unfortunately, as we all know. Let me get this out of its sleeve so there's no glare. But I love this record. And this is the first time I saw PWEI itself live. I saw them in 1991. It was the summer of 91. And I'm pretty sure this album came out in 1990. I I used to know exactly when these albums came out, but as I get older, these years all blur together. This was 1990, right? Yes. Okay. So that makes sense. I saw these guys in the summer of 1991. And this is a really fun album. Samples are just all over the place. Just like on This is the Day, This is the Hour, you hear a lot of film samples. Lots. Like you hear Jack Nicholson from Batman on Another Man's Rhubarb. Let me get some water here. You hear a lot of film samples. You hear more Blade Runner on this, like you heard it on This is the Day, This is the Hour. You hear it on Lived in Splendor, Died in Chaos. They were clearly really fascinated with Blade Runner, as most of us film buffs are. What's not to love about that movie? But Designers Republic, by the way, did the cover. They crush it every time. Check out this cover. What a cool cover. Yes. Part of the fun of collecting PWEI itself records. Check this out. I'll show this sleeve, this inner sleeve. You get the lyrics. Very nice. A photo of the band. And they do cram the music on here. This is an hour-long record, and it's only one record. So look at that. You can kind of see it. It's very dense. Those grooves are shoved on there. Lots of music crammed on there. So not the best pressing, unfortunately. It doesn't sound terrible. Even pressings like this that came out back then still sounded okay because they just had a different quality control was just different back then. It's not like it is now. It's not like it is now where quality control is not even just completely non-existent with a lot of labels and a lot of pressing plants. Back then there was QR or QC everywhere. Quality control. Very, very excellent album, filled with potential singles, filled with real singles, and I'll get to those in a minute. This is their most pop album, I think. I mean, there's a good reason why pop is in big letters here. This is the most radio friendly album they ever did. I mean, musically. Lyrically, they're always kind of being funny and sending out wisecracks and slightly dirty lyrics but I just mean musically. Very radio friendly, and I think their biggest hits came from this album. Can You Dig It was a big single from the previous album, but this has X, Y, and Z, Another Man's Rhubarb, Dance of the Mad Bastards. It definitely had some big songs on it. Really fun album. If they had cut maybe 10 minutes off of this and made it more streamlined, this would be in the running for my favorite album. I just think there's too much fluff on it. but I still love it. This is a fun time to love these guys and be into these guys. Tons of singles, lots of remixes, tons of releases. This was the height of their popularity right here in the early 90s. I saw these guys live, as I mentioned before. They opened for EMF. Do you remember EMF? Unbelievable. They opened for EMF, not the other way around. I remember a friend of mine and I went to the show, and we were crossing the street, and we were disgusted that PWEI was opening for EMF. We were like, fucking bullshit, man. EMF should be opening for PWEI. And we were just talking about it, and we looked over, and crossing the street, running right into us, were the band, Pop Weed itself, Clint Mansell, everybody. Graham, they all just bumped right into us. And I said hello to them, and I just told them I was a big fan, and they were super nice. They couldn't have been any nicer. I don't remember what we said exactly, but I brought that up. I'm like, why are you guys opening for EMF? What the hell? And of course, I remember Mansell saying something like, "Oh, it is what it is. I appreciate you saying that." This is when he had his long hair, and I'm sure he was just like, "Get the fuck out of here, kid. You're annoying me." But he was super nice guy. He just was like, "Yeah, I appreciate that. They're nice guys." But I remember thinking, "Bullshit." We watched it was good in one way that we left the concert early. We watched Pop Weed itself, and then we left. And we're like, we're not fucking watching EMF. I think we stuck around and watched a couple of songs from EMF. They were horrible, terrible. It's like a bunch of kids on stage who didn't know their instruments. And yeah, Pop Weed itself crushed it. They went out there; they were total pros, great musicians, put on a very nice show, and then EMF staggered out there, and sound was bad. They weren't in rhythm. They weren't even in tune. A little slice of history for you. PWEI and EMF. Anyway, that's one of the memories I have of this album. I saw these guys live a few times. I saw them one more time after this. But this was the best. The Cure for Sanity tour. I feel like the two albums they did after this, especially Looks of the Lifestyle, never liked that album very much. I'll talk about that at some point. Dos Dedos Mis Amigas I do like. I still don't think it's anywhere near as good as Cure for Sanity and This Is the Day. But this is a very technically proficient album. Very well produced, very well mixed, very slick, very polished. Lots of stuff going on. Tons of sampling. Drum samples and drum beats are killer. This is really good stuff. It's a little too much of it. They could have toned it down a little bit on the length. Maybe save some of these tracks as B-sides. It's just a lot of album, and it does. You do feel like there's a couple moments of fluff. I'll give you an example, actually, because I want to back up my argument here. Like Zen Radio, did we need that? I don't know. Did we need it? Did we need "Touched by the Hand of Chickiolina" on here? It's a great song. Don't get me wrong. One of their best singles, I think. But it was already out. It had already been out for months. Why did it need to be crammed on here? I don't really think Chickiolina fits on here. I don't know. Great standalone single. Arguably their best single. Awesome remixes, but I don't know that it fits on here. It's a bit of a detour. I think the album would have been better without Chickiolina. But anyway, that's a couple of examples where I think it was too much. They could have trimmed some of this down. Fantastic album though. It's worth getting this vinyl too. They didn't press this out on vinyl in the US. And I noticed on Apple Music they do have this, but the digital version has different versions, I noticed. I was listening to the digital version recently and I noticed some differences. I'm used to this one. This one has different samples, different edits, different tracks in different orders. Like 92 Degrees, the version here, completely different than the one you get on the digital version. The digital version is that re-recorded version they did for the single, which I never liked. The best version's on here, on this original Euro version. If you want the best version of 92 Degrees, you want this, in my opinion. The best version is not on that single. In fact, those single mixes are kind of shit, if you ask me. I never liked them. Definitely a PWEI single you can skip. Speaking of singles, this was the first single. This kind of came out at the tail end of This Is the Day. It was maybe a standalone single in a lot of ways, but I think this is a key single because it has versions of tracks that I think are the best versions. Like 92 Degrees first popped up on this, like a good 2 years before it came out as a single. And this version, I think, is the best version of 92 Degrees. It was a B-side, really. Very Metal Noise Pollution would end up on an album, but I think the best version of all the songs on here are on here. Very Metal Noise Pollution. And look at that cover. Come on. Always great covers. This is a beautiful single. I was just talking about this. Touched by the Hand of Cicciolina, the unofficial World Cup theme. This would have been a better World Cup theme in 1990, by the way, than World in Motion by New Order. Yikes. I love New Order, don't get me wrong, but World in Motion, that's one of their worst songs ever. Terrible. Awful. That was really the beginning of what New Order would become. I think there's 80s New Order, and then there's everything World in Motion onward, which is not good. I don't think New Order has done anything good since Technique. They have bits and pieces of stuff that's okay. But Technique was the last thing those guys did that showed any kind of brilliance. They did plenty of it in the 80s, so they get a pass for the rest of their days, but World in Motion, terrible. This would have been a much better theme. Obviously, World in Motion was more popular because it's a big, annoying pop song with soccer players rapping and shit, but dear God, what a bad song. This is fucking awesome. And the remixes are cool too. By the way, as always, look at this cover. Look at this sleeve. So good. You get a couple of remixes on here. But the real magic is over here on this remix. Now, Cicciolina was an Italian porn star. To this day, I don't know that I've ever seen a picture of her other than this. I just know she was a porn star. Italian. That's all I know. I have no knowledge of her. Is she even alive? I don't know. This was Pop Weed itself's muse at this time when they did this track. The remixes on here are killer. You get a Flood remix, which honestly is the best remix, I think. And then you get Renegade Soundwave. PWEI put their money where their mouth was when they sang about Renegade Soundwave on Can You Dig It. PWEI brought in RSW to do the remix here, and it's awesome. Renegade Soundwave never did anything bad. Everything they did, their own tracks, their remixes, it was all incredible. Dance of the Mad Bastards, or Dance of the Mad. They took Bastards out. That was the original title, Dance of the Mad Bastards, but it's a single. You got to take Bastards out. You got Bastards in your title, you're not going to have a single that charts. It's just the way it is. Kind of like Skinny Puppy with Dog Shit. You're going to have a hard time releasing a single and having any modicum of popularity if your song is called Dog Shit. So you call it Censor instead. Same here. Dance of the Mad. I'll show the label. This is the US version. You get a couple versions. Versions, always versions. You get an extended version. You get the full version of Touched by the Hand of Cicciolina, which, again, is another reason why I don't understand why that was on the album. You could not only find it on that 12-inch of Touched by the Hand of Cicciolina, but you could also find it here. How many times do we need to have the same song? To me, that's disappointing when you like a band and you buy the singles and you're a fan, and then you go to the album and the exact same version of something you heard on a 12-inch is on the album. Come on now. Stop doing that. Here is the other version of Dance of the Mad Bastards, yellow cover on this. And they do a version of Rock a Hula Baby on here, which is very good. I think that's the only difference. Yeah, the other two versions are exact same as what you get on that other 12-inch. But Rock a Hula Baby is worth it to pick this up. One of their more fun covers. This is X, Y, and Z. This came out in different versions. I have I have a box of this. I couldn't find it when I was pulling these out. I apologize for that. But this came out in a green cover with yellow innards like this. And basically, the colors are reversed, but it came in a box. I don't know that it even has any different versions on it. This has just got 3 remixes of X, Y, and Z. This was probably their biggest song in the United States. This got hammered a lot on MTV, promoted heavily. I think this song was even bigger than Can You Dig It here in the States. I don't know how well this did in the UK. You British guys can tell me. I don't know. I wasn't there. But this was the biggest song they did in the States. And it's good. Excellent mixes, I think. A single I was talking about before, 92 Degrees. This is a 10-inch. As always, versions, and more versions. You get the Birth, the Death, the Romance mix of 92 Degrees Boiler House mix. That's the version you see on the digital version of Cure for Sanity. The version that I'm not a fan of. You want that original version, get Very Metal Noise Pollution, and then get the album, the vinyl of Cure for Sanity. You'll get a better version. Oh, it's actually here. The Third Degree. I forgot about this. The version I'm talking about is right here. That's the better version. So it is on here as well. And okay, Incredible PWI versus Dirty Harry. That's just an instrumental filled with samples and then Good Vibes mix of Another Man's Rhubarb. Another Man's Rhubarb was a single here in the States. I don't know that it was in the UK. And this came with a stencil, which is fun. Looks like I'm missing a piece there. It's probably in the record somewhere. See that? It says PWEI, basically. Trying to get the light to shine off of that. Yeah, where's my other piece? Is it in here? Hang on a minute. I'm going to look for this. There it is. It just fell out. Hey, man, I've had this for over 30 years. I'm surprised that any of these pieces are in here. There it is. The most exciting part of this video, I know. I like keeping all this stuff together, though. It's important. So let me put that ever so gently back in there. And then this is the US single I was talking about, Another Man's Rhubarb. Remixes, versions, remixes, versions. They promoted the shit out of this record, both in the UK and here in the States. And yeah, you get 12-inch version, 7-inch mix, chaotic mix. I think chaotic mix is the same as the Good Vibes mix. I'm pretty sure. I remember at the time thinking, there's another mix. And I was like, no, it's the exact same. I think they're the same mix. Boring white sleeve. You do get the promo sticker here. This is a promo. Nothing exciting to look at. But Another Man's Rhubarb. And that comes from Batman. Of course, Jack Nicholson. But, as you know, it all comes back to lots of singles here. I'm digging through them. Right here. Cure for Sanity. A close second in my ranking of the PWEI albums. How do you feel about this? Is this your favorite? Is it your least favorite? Where does this fall in your rankings? I think this is a great album. They could have trimmed out some stuff. That's all I'm saying. A little long. A little too much. Too much rehash, too. Don't put Cicciolini on here. It was already out. Don't insult the fans. You know? Just give us the single. We'll go get it. We don't need to hear it again here. You're taking up valuable space when you do a pressing. And that's a long song, too. It's 8 minutes long. That's 8 minutes you could have used to expand these grooves and make the sound better for all the rest of the tracks. But that's just me. I'm a big Pop Will Eat Itself fan, man. And I love what Clint Mansell's done since. And I will always love these guys. I'll have a big space in my heart for Pop Will Eat Itself. And you know what? I'll hold up. I just did this video, but I'm going to hold it up again. These two, the best Pop Will Eat Itself records. If you were to only get 2 albums, these are the 2 you need. These are the 2 absolute essentials. Pop Will Eat Itself at their very best, these 2 albums. But this is Cure for Sanity. Check this out. Later.